What's up, YouTube? Bay Area Baller back again. I'm excited today to be joined by Larry Krueger. We're going to be breaking down the NFC Championship game. Larry, how you doing today?
Baller, good to see you, man. Awesome. Doing fantastic today. Having a phenomenal day. Can't wait for this football game. And we're just days away now. Just a couple days away.
That's right. You've been killing it with your content. I've been watching all these player interviews you've been doing. I'm loving it. Just keep it up. I see that channel. The numbers are rising, and I'm absolutely loving your work.
Thanks, man. I was down, talked to Brandon Ayuk today, put that interview up. Just it's a real cool environment working in the locker room. I mean, I see Brandon Ayuk walking through the locker room, and he kind of gives me the head bob, and he's got a bowl of cereal, and it's Cheerios. And I go, hey, man. And he goes, yeah. And I go, is that regular or is that honey nut? And he goes, honey nut. And I'm like, nice.
Gotta be.
He goes, honey nut. So I'm like, hey, man, you got a few minutes? So he's like, sure. So we walk over to his locker. And, I didn't even have the cameraman there with me. I just had the phone. So I'm like, literally just like, holding up the phone like this as we're talking. But it's very cool. And there, the room is packed with a bunch of really good dudes. I give John Lynch credit. There's no, there ain't no softies in there. It's a tough room with some tough guys, but it's also a really good room with a lot of high character guys. And the group is really tight. They're loose. They're confident. They feel like they know what some of the guys said that they really like. Some guys prefer to actually play on the road because of the, just it streamlines the distractions and, you can just focus straight down on your business trip. But they know they got a big battle on Sunday waiting for them.
You mentioned John Lynch. Let me say, I think the only time I was upset with John Lynch was the Buckner trade. But other than that, and whether we could have kept Armstead and Buckner, that's Parag's crunching numbers there. But if I were to ask you, John Lynch, Executive of the Year, Kyle Shanahan, Coach of the Year, who do you think is more deserving this season of that accolade?
This is like a deeper question because this really is the core fundamental question of, do you believe in the X's and the O's and the masters of that? Or do you believe, as they say, in the Jimmies and the Joes and the personnel? And I'm a personnel guy. So I always think it's the players. Yeah. So I really think John Lynch deserves the Executive of the Year. And the interesting thing about this baller is that John Lynch should get this award. It's really down between, in my mind, it's between John Lynch, John Schneider in Seattle, who had a tremendous draft and offseason. The Russell Wilson trade obviously was a huge success. And then they were picked to win 4 or 5 games, and they won 9 or whatever it was and made the playoffs. But then also Howie Roseman. He traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Yeah. He's had look at that roster. He's
A.J. Brown.
He made a number of trades. They got 2 number 1 picks in the upcoming draft awaiting them, I believe.
Wow.
So they're the Eagles are set up nicely, and Howie Roseman could get that award and probably will. But John Lynch, I think 3 years from now, when you look at the number of guys that were picked up in this offseason that are still with this football team and play a role and maybe even a meaningful role, I think you're going to see Tay Martin, Marcelino McCrary-Ball, Jason Poe, Kalia Davis, Taylor Hawkins, Quantrez Knight. I mean, you're going to see some guys.
Jordan Mason's role is going to expand.
Nick Zakel. I mean, not to mention Burford and Drake Jackson and Ty Davis Price and Danny Gray. And, we could just go on and Brock Purdy, So
Absolutely.
John Lynch has had a tremendous offseason. Plus then the free agent, bringing in Brian Schneider as the special team coach, Oren Burks, George Odom. Those guys have been stars on special teams. Ray McLeod. I mean, fumbled last week, but Ray's been big time this year for them.
I want to get him some touches. Can we get him an end around? We saw what he did in
the McCaffrey trade,
the Washington Commanders game, I want to get Ray, but let's get Ray some touches because you're right, man. He's been fantastic.
I asked Ray, I said, Ray, I'd love to see the 49ers. Like right now, the Niners don't have what do they have? They've got a lot on this team that they didn't have a year ago. They take the ball away, but they don't have Raheem Mostert. And Mostert could get to the edge at will. But guess what? Ray can get to the edge at will. I would love to see in this game against Philly, the Niners put the ball in Ray's hands early in the game and try to get him on the edge against this Eagles defense because he's got big time speed. And if you give him a run to the edge, he has it. He's so fast. I think he could get out there and really take it upfield.
And what I love about Ray is he's shifty, but he can make you miss without, slowing down and chopping your feet. Some guys got to really chop their feet to make you miss. Ray will stick his foot in the ground and he's making a sharp cut at full speed. So I agree with you. And that's one thing I love about Ray McLeod. And the title of this show, Larry, is NFC title fight. And that's because I think this is going to be a slugfest between two physical teams, clearly the two best teams in the NFC. And the matchup was inevitable. Feels like it has the chance to be an instant classic. But that's where I was going with NFC title fight. I just think it's just two teams full of gladiators that are really good in the trenches. And it's going to be a battle.
It is. It's going to be an absolute battle. It's going to be, a 49er offensive line that has the best lineman in the game in Trent Williams. Two real big young guards in Aaron Banks and Spencer Burford. And Mike McGlinchey making a homecoming. And can the 49ers run the ball with Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, both of who are a little banged up coming into it. McCaffrey with a calf contusion, Mitchell, I believe, with an ankle. But
I'm a little concerned about it. Larry. The run game couldn't quite get going last week against the Cowboys. I feel like they're going to need the run game here against the Eagles to show up. We're going to talk about that Philadelphia pass rush in a little bit, but this Niner run game, our guys are dinged up, and I don't feel like we're going to see JP Mason. We've seen him sparingly. It's going to be McCaffrey. It's going to be Eli Mitchell, and you just hope that they can get it done back there. Make some explosives.
Okay, this is what I would come out with, and this is what I'd love to see. I want to see some explosives, and I want to get the ball in the hands of Debo and Ayuk, but I want to do it without putting the ball in the air. So I want to orbit motion. I want, I'll toss it to Debo. I'll flip it to Debo. End around to Debo. Reverse to Ayuk.
Where have those been?
Shovel pass to Ayuk. I want to do.
I haven't seen the Debo end arounds
and Debo to touch the ball at least once each on that first drive without the ball being in the air. And then let's see if those guys can bust a big play. I like to run the wide receivers, run Ray, run Debo, run Ayuk, and see if you can get those guys touches and get them in the flow and create some chunk yard plays without putting the ball in the air. And then once they've done that, then let Purdy start to throw a little bit.
I like that philosophy. I want to talk about Nick Sirianni briefly because I'm not a fan of his antics. You saw him jumping around. He chest bumped 3 different guys in a 5-second span. He's staring into the camera. My pops used to always tell me, act like you've been there before, right? Nick Sirianni does not live by that philosophy. I think I got something I could pull up here. Yeah. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? Like Belichick, Andy Reid, none of these guys they wouldn't be doing that stuff. I mean, the only thing missing is the red nose, but Larry, it's right here. Yeah. There it is.
That's awesome.
Hey, Nick Sirianni. So, Larry, I read an article. Last year, Sirianni started out calling the plays for Philadelphia. offense was sputtering. They had to make a change. Offensive coordinator took over last year and is still calling the plays now. And that's when the offense had an uptick in production. So it's like Sirianni, I don't know. There might be a play or two in this game where we're scratching our heads. I have a feeling, did Sirianni make the right call? I'm not sold on this guy quite yet, Larry.
I mean, that, to steal from Bryce Harper, that's a clown move, bro. I mean, that's a total clown move. In the history of football, who's the most brash coach of all time? Who knows?
Is it
Jimmy Johnson, maybe? No, Jimmy Johnson didn't mug for the cameras. Kyle Shanahan doesn't mug for the cameras. Vince Lombardi didn't mug for the cameras. Nobody in the history of football has ever mugged for the cameras until Nick Sirianni. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's just, I know Philly fans love it, but and I talked to Ike Reese about it today, and he's like, yeah, Philly fans love it. But even Ike admitted, man, it was clownish.
Hey, act like you've been there before.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, it's just bad. It's bad karma, man. I mean, it's like you're dancing. I mean, not only that, I mean, really, if I was a New York Giant fan, it's not just that he did it. It was when he did it. It was 14-0. It was the first quarter of the game.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, if it's the fourth quarter and it's over and you want to be like, oh, I just got caught up in the emotion with the sideline, jubilation, whatever, that's explainable. In the first quarter of a 14-0 game, that's like tempting the football gods to go against you. I hope he gets his comeuppance this week.
I'm thinking the same thing. Put this guy in his place. Move on to the Super Bowl. Hey, this next game I got coming up here, Larry, I'm calling it the gift game. All right. There's going to be a gift that's going to appear on the screen, and it's going to be of a player. I want you to tell me how you think this player's been playing, maybe these 2 games in the playoffs or throughout the season, and their expectations you have for them, what they need to do to help the 49ers get a win on Sunday. The gift game. Here it is. Big Eric Armstead. Talk to me, Larry.
It's got a really, really tough matchup inside. I mean, Jason Kelce is enormously strong. He needs to beat Kelce with quickness. The Niners have a quickness advantage and a movement advantage on the Eagles' offensive line. Eagles have a big, physical, strong offensive line. So you got to get off the snap first. You got to get your hands on him before he gets his hands on you. And you got to shoot gaps. You got to play with strength, but you got to come off blocks. And to me, Eric Armstead is the beginning for the Niners. He's playing at a really high level. He's in the prime of his career. He's more athletic than Dickerson at left guard. He's more athletic than Kelce at center. So, yeah, Eric Armstead's got to use his quickness advantage and knife into those gaps, cause penetration, get in the face of Jalen Hurts, and single-handedly change the game.
I love it. Love that analysis. And I want to see Armstead. I want him to push the pocket, compress him, push guys back into Hurts's lap, because it's always more difficult to play within the pocket when you got bodies crowding in on you. So I want Armstead to push the pocket, but also you got to stay disciplined in your rushing lanes, right? You can't be leaving gaps wide gaps for Hurts to take advantage of with his feet. So that's what I want to see from Armstead. Let's see who this next GIF is going to be. There it is. Talanoa Hufanga. He had 4 picks, I want to say, like in the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season, Larry. And here, I'm going to take this one off for a sec. But Hufanga had 4 interceptions first 6 or 7 weeks. He hasn't had one since. Last week, I was thinking he was due. I thought he could potentially get one off of Dak. That didn't happen. He did have a nice pressure, right? We know Hufanga, he's so good at timing the snap, right? He times it up, gets into the backfield, had a nice QB hit on Prescott. But I want to ask you, what do you think about Hufanga and his performance lately, and what do you want to see him do against the Eagles?
Well, I mean, first of all, I do think that the 49ers are going to play some cover three and have this guy in the box. And he's going to be, I think, a threat to the Eagles if the Eagles get too predictable in their early down. We're going to run the ball, on these either with Hurts on this elongated mesh point, these zone read runs or quarterback keepers. And I think Afanga is a key guy to read that, to be decisive, and to attack the mesh point and blow those plays up before they start. If he does it really, really well, he might be able to just knife in there at the right moment. And right as, Hurts is trying to mesh with Sanders, blow the whole thing up and cause a fumble. And that's what Afanga's working on, is trying to work on every key possible to shoot that gap, break up that mesh point, detonate on the running back or on Hurts. The key with Afanga is he's got to get home. He's got to get home. So when he gets there, he can't fall off the tackle. He'd be better off not blitzing than blitzing and grabbing Hurts by the legs and then sliding off of it and having Hurts go running, because now there's one less guy in the coverage.
Yeah, you're out of the picture.
You're on the ground behind the play, trailing the play. So it's like you got one shot, you got to make it happen. So I personally think I've seen him fall off way too many of these. And against Hurts, who has enormously strong churning legs, you have to wrap up. So Afanga, you need to make more contact on the ball carrier. You need to really bring him down, and you got to wrap him up. You got to get that ankle on the slide by. You can't just slide off the tackle. It's not enough to get penetration and to disrupt. You have to finish the play. So he's got to finish. And then I think he's the key guy against the run. And then also in the pass game, he's got to be disciplined. And I think it's got to be the right blend. He's got to know his down and distance. At certain points in the game, his coverage has got to be safe. At other points in the game, his coverage has to be more aggressive. And his time, he's going to have to be on time. He's got to take some chances. He's a concern because he's over aggressive. It's a huge game. He wants to play well. He wants to make a big play. The Eagles have some receivers that have ball skills down the field in both their guys, and it's going to be a huge challenge. They need him in coverage, but they need him more at the line of scrimmage against the run. So I think it's going to be a lot of cover three and Hufanga attacking, the quarterback or the running back.
Love that analysis. Well, I got a few more gifts that I want to show you. Let's see who we got next. Big 85, George Kittle. Brock Purdy has really feels like it took George Kittle's game to another level. Just the production in the red zone. Kittle had a big game last week against the Cowboys. And, he's going to be pivotal in the run game. 49ers do need to run the ball against this tough Eagles defense and pass rush to help slow it down. Kittle's going to be a big part of that. And off the play action, I want to get Kittle, whether it's – I call them play action slides, where it's a play action and Kittle's actually running the opposite way against, behind the line of scrimmage. It's a play action one way, but Kittle's coming across. I call it a slide route. And let's hit him on some of those, get his yak up. But when we're talking George Kittle, how do you think that matchup fares for him?
I love it. I think this is a huge advantage for the Niners is this matchup with Kittle on Kazir White. I think Kazir White allowed a completion percentage in pass coverage this year of 73%.
Whoa.
And
that kid's a rookie, right?
Yeah, he's a former DB who's playing linebacker. Collegiate DB who's playing linebacker. So he's an interesting player, but he's a guy who is a solid player, but he has some weaknesses in his game, and I think Kittle could exploit them. I think, Kittle, Purdy to Kittle in this game is going to be a huge factor. I really do. I mean, Kittle, I don't know. Kittle basically has been lining up in the slot about 30% of the time this year. And the Eagles play that 5-2-4 with the 5 down linemen, the 2 linebackers. And so you're going to have Kazir White and TJ Edwards, and those 2 guys are the 3rd and the 4th most targeted defenders, and both have allowed completion reception rates, over 66%. So I think getting Kittle isolated is going to be absolutely the biggest part of the pass game for the Niners.
I love it. Yeah. Purdy's bringing the best out of Kittle. We want to see more of that on Sunday. All right, last gift I got for you. Let's see who it is. Defensive Player of the Year himself, Nick Bosa. And I've seen a narrative, Larry, I think mostly on Twitter, but Nick Bosa only 1 sack in the last 4 games. Like they're trying to punch holes in Bosa's game. And I'm like, well, if you're watching the tape, Bosa's moving people around. He's moving bodies, pushing the pocket. He had a few pressures on Dak, tackle for loss. Like he's still making plays. Obviously the sack shows up in the stat sheet. But what are you seeing from Bosa, especially lately? And I want to ask you, who would you rather have Bosa line up against, whether it's Lane Johnson or the left tackle Mailata?
I don't. It's no doubt it's Mailata, but Lane Johnson's not moving as well, and he's had some injuries this year. But I think Bosa could go right around Mailata, basically at will. So I like Mailata as far as his movement ability, but he's just the wrong size, and Bosa's a totally different animal than the average NFL defensive end. But where Nick's playing really well is against the run. He's playing really well against the run. He's really efficient. He's getting in there. He's causing all kinds of havoc. But they're obviously everything's about getting away from him. So teams are trying to keep him out of the action, fooling him, running away from him. And he's got to read things quickly and go. So then of course he's getting extra blockers. They're grabbing him. They're holding him. So it's like, I'm not making excuses for him. I just don't particularly think he's playing poorly.
Me either.
Every time I watch the Niner games, I feel like he's clearly the kind of the foundation piece of everything that's going on up front. And he accounts for a ton of attention, and the motor never stops, and he's really good against the run, and he's got a ton of sacks. So I don't think he's getting tired, but I think as the season goes on, the games get more important. Teams account for you more and make your job more difficult.
And I've seen some of this narrative. Like, is Bosa nicked up? What have you heard, being inside the locker room, being in that building? Have you heard anything about a Bosa injury?
No,
me either.
And he's not moving like he's got an injury either. He's just, he'll bull rush you. Sometimes he'll speed rush you. They play all kinds of games. He got the fumble. I mean, people are talking like he's terrible, playing terrible. He had the fumble recovery against Dallas that sealed that sealed the Amenahue forced fumble. He's the one who popped on that thing.
He's still making plays. Bosa is making plays. Before we get to our next segment, everyone watching, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. All right, next thing I wanted to talk about here, Larry. I wanted to pull up. I'm going to share my screen here. I want to pull up the Eagles roster because there's a few names. I know I follow the league. I know you follow the league. And I'm going to pull this up here. We're going to look at some names. I just want to hear just some quick thoughts. Now, I got this sorted here. This is the defense. and I sorted it. This is PFF, all right? Everyone's got different opinions of PFF and whatnot. I don't know where you stand on them, Larry, but just to look at some numbers, Brandon Graham is actually the highest rated defensive player on their team with a grade of nearly 90. Josh Sweat is next. TJ Edwards is up there. Hassan Reddick. So you're seeing these pass rushers. Javon Hargrave. When we're looking at this Eagles defense, who comes to the forefront of your mind that the 49ers, maybe concern isn't the right word, but someone you better keep your tabs on this guy?
Well, it's Javon Hargrave, number 97, South Carolina State, tackle, who's just awesome. I mean, he's 310 pounds or whatever he is. He's fast. And he's in the prime of his career. He's 29. He's having a great year. And as far as power and speed, and I mean, Fletcher Cox is a monster. Linval Joseph is super
Fletcher
strong.
Cox has been great for like a decade. Yeah. Feels like Fletcher Cox is just big time.
They're hard to move out of there, but they don't give you a ton as pass rushers. Reddick's getting a lot of pressure. He's a speed rusher. Yeah. They have a big front, right? Cox, Joseph, Jordan Davis, Sue. I mean, they got guys who can.
Jordan Davis is huge.
Jordan Davis,
and that's where the interior of our offensive line needs to be on their A game, because those Philly D tackles, man, you guys might not want to hear it, but they're really freaking good. So Burford, right? We saw J.J. Watt kind of get in, beat Burford a couple times across his face for some instant pressure. Can't let that happen, man. Like, the Cowboys made it tough on Brock last week. I thought Brock still played pretty well, but we need the offensive line to step it up a notch. Give Brock some time. Don't get pushed back into his lap, because it's harder to read the field when you got a 6'5" lineman pressed up against your face. So offensive line needs to be on their A game, especially the interior, because these Philly defensive tackles, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave. One thing I did notice, Larry, just looking at PFF before we went live, Javon Hargrave, he's got a really good pass rush grade. He's got a pass rush grade of 90.7, but his rushing grade, his rush defense is a 46. Right. So that tells me, I watch Sundays. I'm watching Red Zone. I know you're working and whatnot. I'm at home on the couch watching Red Zone. So it's not like I'm dialed in on every snap of Philly, but you see Javon Hargrave flash and he's getting pressure on the quarterback. But it looks like, according to PFF, you might be able to exploit him a bit in the run game. So it'll be interesting to see how the Niners can take advantage of that.
I mean, the 49ers, what's the game plan? The game plan is Philly's got the number 1 pass D, and they're 20th against the run. So run the ball. You got to figure out who you're going to run it with, where you're going to run it. That's debatable, but run the ball. And you're right. Hargrave is more of a pass rusher. I'm thinking more about protection of the quarterback. Linval Joseph is not going to, Fletcher Cox and Linval Joseph are probably not quick enough at this point to be able to corral Brock Purdy. But Javon Hargrave is, and Javon Hargrave is 300 plus pounds. So that he concerns me. Reddick concerns me a little bit. And then the two guys in the secondary obviously Darius Slay's a great corner, but CJ Gardner-Johnson, the strong safety who plays slot corner sometimes, he's just a tremendous player. Run, hit, he can do it all. Big time player, great playmaker, sometimes over aggressive, but he's a star. And then James Bradbury is a really solid NFL corner, having a great year. And, he's got size. He's been around
the league. Interception last week, right?
Got the interception last week, and he
picked off Daniel Jones. And that guy was a former Giant, too. Giants let him walk. When I was watching the game, the broadcaster had said that. Yeah, Bradbury's playing good ball.
Yeah, Bradbury's breaking on balls really well. And it's like you can't sit there and throw lollipop hitch screens in his neighborhood and not think that he's not going to pick it off. So Bradbury jumping a pass concerns me. CJ Gardner-Johnson blowing somebody up with a big hit, causing a fumble, that concerns me. Hassan Reddick sacking the quarterback, that concerns me. Javon Hargrave hurting the quarterback, That concerns me. Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat, just real solid defensive ends. Graham's coming off of a major surgery, and he's still playing at a high level. So, yeah, their defense, but their defense, I believe, if you stay ahead of the chains and stay ahead on the scoreboard, I think they're a defense that you can handle. What the problem is if you fall behind in the chains or behind on the scoreboard by, any significant amount, you're all of a sudden they get to be in pass rush mode.
Yeah, they're pinning their ears back.
Yeah, or there's just a lot of pressure they can put on the quarterback at that point.
Yeah, I saw quite a few stunts in that Giants game from that Philly defensive line. Guys are stunting back and forth. What's the way to exploit the stunt game? Is it run it right at them when they're because I noticed quite a few stunts from that Philadelphia defensive line.
Well, I think you best negate it by communicating well.
Have to.
Because what it does is there's movement up front, which is designed to cause confusion to the offensive line. If you are not confused by it, if you communicate well, if you're an offensive line that has a plan and you can handle the stunt game, a lot of times you have guys out of position to make tackles against the run. And also it sometimes leaves the quarterback with a wide open lane, run lane to scramble and beat you late in the down. So it's like you got all this movement up front, but in the midst of all this chaos and movement, did you give the quarterback a 15-yard, run lane? So the key when you're stunting, I think, is to mix up your stunts. Why? Because if you mix up your stunts aggressively and your blitzes, when the quarterback leaves the pocket, he kind of tiptoes out of the pocket the first couple steps until he's in the clear and then takes off. If you're too obvious about where how you rush the quarterback, he'll go sprinting out of the pocket. And if a quarterback sprints out of the pocket, it's going to be very difficult to stop him without it being a negative play for the defense. So you want that quarterback,
if you're in man coverage. That's when you get these chunk runs.
Right. You want the quarterback to kind of, come out of the pocket gingerly because he has no clue what angles and who may be coming unblocked, and he may get keyholed. So, I mean, that slight bit of caution is the difference between a 5-yard gain and a 45-yard gain for some of these mobile quarterbacks like Hurts.
Fish and Chips mentioned this a couple times. Tell me do you have a motion stat?
Yeah. I threw it out to Grant today. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the Eagles pass defense, when there's no pre-snap motion, they were number 1 in the NFL in EPA per play. When there was pre-snap motion, they fell from number 1 to number 22.
Wow.
In EPA per play. And they're now about to face a 49er team that was number 1 in the NFL in terms of pre-snap motion rate in the league. So the Niners run a ton of motion. The Eagles went from number 1 without it to 22nd with it.
Looks like they have some trouble with the motion.
Clearly. So that's going to be interesting. I expect Kyle Shanahan to call. If you said to me, give me the number 1 reason you like the 49ers to win, Kyle Shanahan over Nick Sirianni. And a lot of people would say, oh, Nick Sirianni's had a great – first of all, it's not even Nick Sirianni. He's not the offensive coordinator. He's not the defensive coordinator. No, I get it. He's got Shane Steichen, and he's got the other guy as the Gannon, I believe, is the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. But I just think the experience factor, and I brought this up to Grant. Listen to this. 17 of the 49er 23 starters have played in an NFC Championship game or an AFC Championship game. Only 6 of Philly's 23 starters have played in a championship game. And then coaching-wise, this Shanahan has coached or coordinated in 4 NFC Championship games, 0 for Sirianni. So
Wow.
I just think that, experience counts for something. I really believe in that. And I think the 49ers plan, I asked Ayuk today about the 49er plan. He said they got a good plan, and he believes in the plan. And, bring it on. It should be interesting.
Absolutely. Let's take one last look at Philly's roster. Let's go to offense here. We've been talking mostly defense, and you were saying you'd have Bosa go up against Mailata. I mean, that offensive line looks pretty sound here. You talked about it. They're big. They got a good offensive line. I mean, Jason Kelsey's been doing it for, quite some time. What I like about Kelsey is he's so good getting to the second level. It's something the Niners got to keep tabs on because Kelsey's so good at he'll help out on a D tackle, but then he gets to that next level. So, whether it's Armstead, you kind of want to tie him up. You don't want Kelsey to get freely to that next level so he can block a Greenlaw or block a Fred Warner. That's on Givens, that's on Kinlaw, Armstead. But when we're looking at this Philadelphia offense, really what jumps out at you are those 2 stud receivers. And where I'm at with these guys, we're talking Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They're going to get theirs, right? They're going to catch some balls. But don't let these 2 guys go off. Don't let them get 150 yards, both go over 100 yards, right? They're going to get theirs, but try to limit the big plays. What do you see when we're looking at this Philadelphia offense going against this 49er defense? How do you think they're going to attack the Niners D, or just give me some general thoughts on this Philadelphia offense?
Well, they got a great offensive line, but it's a power-based offensive line. I think the Niners have a clear athleticism edge up front. The 49er defensive front is a lot faster than the Philly offensive line. A lot faster.
Okay.
Across the board. But the Eagles also have tremendous strength in their offensive line. So to me, I think the Niners have got to, this has got to be a game that's won with the Niner defensive line. They got to play fast. They got to play furious. They got to bring the house. They've got to play games up front. They've got to blitz. They've got to shoot gaps. And I'm talking about the entire front 7, not just the front 4. They've got to play with their hair on fire. They have a speed edge. Bosa, Armstead, Kinlaw, Ebukam, much faster across the board than their counterpart. Amenahue, Givens, McGill, Willis, Drake Jackson, Kerry Hyder, anybody who plays basically on the Niner front faster than what the Eagles have. And then the Niners have dominance at linebacker with Warner and Greenlaw and Al-Shair. So what do? I think you send backers, you attack, you rush 4, you drop 7. Then, on certain downs, you go 5-man rush, 6-man rush, all kinds of stunting games up front, guys coming from angles, delayed blitzes, slot blitzes, corner blitzes. I mean, I'm bringing everything.
Safety blitzes. Hufanga's getting in there.
Hufanga's got to get home on a blitz. They've got to move the quarterback. Their D-line has to win up front. Okay, that I think is number one. Where this game is ultimately going to get decided is who gets more done on first and second down. I think Shanahan, you're right. Shanahan has struggled running the ball. The Niners have struggled running the ball, and they can't be super conservative with these, we're just going to buck into the line with Christian McCaffrey or Elijah Mitchell and get stonewalled on some real easy to read run action.
And they're nicked up now, Larry. They're nicked up too on top of it.
And you're going to be staring at 2nd and 8. And then the next play is going to get stuffed for no gain. You're going to be looking at 3rd and 8. And then you're going to ask Brock Purdy with the place roaring to drop back against this Eagle front
the whole D-line knows you're throwing the ball.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So to me, the Eagles the Eagles and the Niners have the same trait in that they're really good defenses on third and long. They're really not good defenses on third and short. And it's going to be about, can you pick up third downs on third and short? Can you get into third and short and then pick up third downs? What you are at third down is going to determine who wins this game. If the Eagles get a lot done on first and second down, and it's Jalen Hurts on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, the way he's running it and the way their run game is, all the pressure
That's trouble
they can put on you. I don't think the Niners can stop that. And then it's like you're going to lose the time of possession. Your defense is going to get worn down. Time of possession is going to be key, but what you get done on first and second down, and can you get into short third downs? The Niners without DJ Jones are not a good defense on third and short, but they are a very good defense on third and long. So
Okay.
if the Eagles get into third and short, it could be a long all day. It could be like the Falcon game where they lose the time of possession in a one-sided way, and wind up getting worn down on defense and run over in the fourth quarter. It could happen. I don't anticipate that is going to happen, though. I think the 49ers have 3 star linebackers, and they're all in their prime. And they have a major speed advantage up front. They got a major speed advantage in the front 7. And I think the Niner front 7 is going to rule the day. I really do. And then on offense, it's going to take some Shanahan wizardry to dial up some really creative plays and to diversify the rushing game. But I would run the hell out of the football, and I'm running it with McCaffrey and Mitchell and Mason and TDP if I have to, and Ayuk and Debo and Ray, and Danny Grimes. I'm running everybody. And then I'm looking for George Kittle on third down. So I'm looking to exploit George Kittle and Kazir White on third down. And that's how I plan on winning. I think the unsung guy, the guy who's got a little extra bounce in his step and seems like he's ready to play he just seems like he's the right guy for the moment right now.
Let me know.
You want to guess, you mean?
No, I said, let me know. Who is it?
Tayshaun Gibson.
Ooh,
Dude, Tayshaun Gibson is a ball hawk, and he's got about 30 career picks. And I think that the one thing that nobody's really talking about is that neither quarter, Hurts does not deal with pressure that well. He just doesn't get it that often. They run the ball so well, they're leading so often that he doesn't have a lot of pressure in his face. But if you look at his numbers, he doesn't deal necessarily all that well with pressure. So I think this is a 49er front that is going to bring pressure. And to me, that's where the game is won. If the Niners don't bring pressure, they're going to lose this game. And if they bring pressure, they're going to win it.
No doubt. Well, hey, we're going to be bringing up a few keys to the game. And just the way you've been hitting on this defensive line, I feel like I can already read your mind. One of your keys to the game is this Niner defensive line needs to get after Jalen Hurts, make him uncomfortable. But I got a shout out in the chat. Veronica Vasquez, E. Prizzle, it's your brother and V. That's my brother and his girlfriend. They're watching and enjoying watching you and Mr. Krueger. So shout out my brother Nicky P and his girlfriend.
And Mr. Krueger, come on. Call me Larry.
That's Larry. So, Larry, I wanted to get into some keys to the game. If you got a couple keys, I know you've been hitting on that D line, but I'll start off first.
Okay.
49ers got to contain Jalen Hurts, right? So these third down scrambles where he breaks the pocket and gets a first down, those can be backbreakers, because it's like the secondary all did their job. Everything's bottled up. But if you're not disciplined in your rush lanes and you're giving these big alleys for Jalen Hurts to hit the hole, take advantage of, he's getting first downs. Can't let that happen. All right. 1 or 2, he's going to get a couple first downs. He's an extremely athletic quarterback, but you got to limit it. I know the 49ers beat the Eagles last year. I think Jalen Hurts had something like 80 rushing yards, but it came late in the game, if I'm remembering correctly. Like the 49ers, they were in control, and then Jalen Hurts kind of went off, had a couple runs where he got to the edge. But don't let the Eagles have these back-breaking third down conversions with Jalen Hurts getting it with his legs. You got to be disciplined. And Bosa, look at last week, Larry. Dak Prescott, right? The sole touchdown that the Cowboys had, when they got down into the red zone, Dak Prescott had a little read option, got to the edge, ran it down inside the 5-yard line, and that set up the little toss to Dalton Schultz. So be disciplined in your rush lanes. You don't want to give Jalen Hurts too many first downs with his legs because those are backbreakers. Key number one.
I would say the other thing I would do is I would drop my bigger people into coverage in like little hook zones underneath, and I would rush my smaller people. He's a smaller player with a quickness advantage, and he's used to using his quickness advantage against big defensive tackles and ends. Drop those guys and blitz spread out get in your wide nine, and then have the Greenlaws and the Al-Shairs and the base defense creep up near the line, and then just drop Kevin Givens into coverage, and shoot your backers through the holes and force the speed of the game and force Hurts to get rid of it quickly. I'd blitz and rush Hurts with smaller bodies to make sure that I'm bringing him down, because he's used to having a quickness edge. The way to beat him is to give him a bunch of different looks, confuse him for just a second, and then just send speed at him. Aziz, Warner, Greenlaw, Hafanga, send those guys consistently at him from all different angles. Speed, get in his face with smaller guys.
Love it. That's some real X's and O's right there. Because that's how you keep an offensive line off balance too. You're dropping a D tackle, sending someone from the next level. Love it. D'Amico feels like he's got to kind of spice it up a little bit. Would you say that? I mean, I thought it was kind of a vanilla game plan offensively last week. There were so many explosive against the Seahawks that you want to see some of that back. 49ers, they're going to have to – I want some chunk plays, right? You got to get the ball out quick. I want to see the jet sweeps in some quick game, but this Eagles defense, they're going to be loading the box. And I will say I had a stat on the Eagles D I wanted to bring up, but it's been talked about ad nauseum. The Eagles had the most sacks in the NFL this season by a wide margin, but they were bottom 10 in the NFL in opponents' yards per carry, giving up 4.6 a clip. So bottom 10 in yards per carry.
And by the way, those sacks, they did have 70 sacks, right?
Yeah.
They had 23 of those 70 sacks in 3 games.
Whoa.
23 in 3 games. They had 3 games where they went to town. Otherwise, they had 47 sacks in 14 games. So I know that you look at that number and you're like, what? 70? That's crazy. That's a ton. I will say this, though, Purdy, the Niner O-line it's all about the Niner O-line. Purdy against Dallas was under pressure 48.6% of his dropbacks. That was the most of any Niner quarterback since 2020. And despite seeing that incredible amount of pressure in his face, he still did not turn it over at all.
He was still making plays. He was still making throws.
Still making throws, still making plays. Get this, though. When the Niner O-line last week against Dallas kept Purdy clean, he was 15 of 17 for 159 yards. He basically completed 88% of his passes when they kept him clean. So keep this guy clean and he'll carve you up. To me, that's also an indication to John Lynch. Hey, John, as you're building this team for the future, now that you got your quarterback, go get a couple big-time blue-chip offensive linemen and protect this guy, because if you can keep him clean, he might be able to complete almost every pass he makes.
Absolutely. And that's a key to the game in
You
itself.
got all the
is
weapons.
Offensive line, protecting, give Purdy time to survey the field. Absolutely. Let's see what we got up next here. Okay. Back by popular demand, we're going to be doing a prediction segment. Larry, get the thoughts rumbling in your head. I need a couple predictions here. I'm not going to tell you how I came to own this crystal ball, Larry.
I just popped. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I got those in my house too. Gummy Bears Elite. This is the crystal ball that allows, it sends me telepathic signals about what predictions I need to make. Although I did go 0 for 3 on last week's predictions. Huff didn't get an interception. I was thinking Ayuk was going to get a touchdown. Kevin Givens was going to have a big tackle for. Anyway, we won't talk about that. It's a new week.
Right.
I got some more predictions. I got with me my trusted crystal ball. So, yeah, let's get this segment rolling here. When we're talking crystal ball predictions, do you have any bold predictions you want to throw out there? Any prediction at all when we're talking 49ers Eagles?
Any prediction at all?
Yes.
Yeah. I predict that that Nick Bosa will have his best game of the year, production-wise.
Whoa. Love that. Need it. Nick Bosa, you heard it here. If he has a 2-3 sack game, Larry Krueger told you so right here with Bay Area Baller. Those of you guys watching, make sure you're hitting the like, you're hitting the subscribe. Larry, I got one for you. Deebo Samuel, I think he's breaking a big one. I'm thinking Deebo catches something short. Maybe it's a jet sweep, a tunnel screen. He catches something short, busts it through the second level. He stiff arms him, breaks a long touchdown. I'm thinking 50 yards, 40, 50 yards. Bold prediction. Deebo Samuel busts one, touchdown. That's how I'm feeling.
I like that. I feel that too. I feel like Deebo is primetime players. What's the old saying? Big players play big in big games.
That's it right there. That's it. Let's see if anyone in the chat, drop me some predictions if you got one. What do you guys see happening in this game coming up here? Okay, while the chat gives their prediction, I'm going to ask you about your game prediction. How do you see this game playing out? Is it going to be a defensive game? Are the offenses going to be lighting up the scoreboard? You had to throw out a score prediction here with the multitude of shows. You've been a busy man jumping all over the place. How do you see this game playing out? The tempo, the rhythm, and what's the score going to be?
I'm going to say 20. First of all, I think it's going to be close. So this idea of
yes,
I just don't.
Me too.
I don't see it's. I don't.
Me too.
I don't see the 49ers being able to blow out Philly. I don't see Philly being able to blow out the Niners. I think I'm a little worried about the beginning of the game because the 49ers are going on the road. Place is going to be rocking. But I'm going to say the 49er defense is the best defense. This is the two top defenses in football, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go low scoring. I'm not going to go high scoring.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this: 49er defense will get a score.
Oh, that's scorching hot.
49er defense will score.
Where's my scorching? Here it is.
Scorching hot takes.
Woo! That's scorching hot right there. Niners defensive touchdown.
Defensive touchdown.
Shoot, if you plug that in, on some offshore account. You get some pretty good odds on that one. Love it. Niners might need it. I'm thinking they might have to run. I feel like we haven't whipped out the trick plays in a while. Maybe since McCaffrey had the touchdown pass, or we've seen Debo throw one. Kind of want to see a little something, a little trick play, a little reverse. I don't know what they're going to do. Remember, Juszczyk came on one through that a pass a couple years ago. It wasn't Emmanuel Sanders hitting Juszczyk. It might have been Emmanuel Sanders hitting Juszczyk.
They're going to have to go big baller, shot caller on both sides of the line of scrimmage. It's a big day. I think it's a really big moment for both D'Amico Ryans and how he calls this game, and Kyle Shanahan and how he calls this game offensively. I really think Shanahan's going to be the difference. I mean, I'm expecting Shanahan to just have the greatest game plan of all time.
I love it, because I was a little bit critical of last week's game plan. I thought it was kind of vanilla. Seahawks, I was praising him. Shanahan was in his bag against the Seahawks. Dudes are running wide open all over the place, Larry. Felt like some of that was lacking last week. It is a better defense. Cowboys are good. Well, hey, Philadelphia Eagles also got a really good defense. So, Kyle, get that bag open. Start cooking up something. I want some open receivers running downfield. Let's get Purdy a nice pocket for him to deliver the football. It's a recipe for success. Larry, we're hitting that hour mark. We're about to wrap it up here. Any final thoughts? Anything I'll plug your channel. If you're watching this, first of all, you better be subscribed to Larry Krueger. I mean, they're absolutely killing it with the content. I already said your player interviews have been phenomenal. Must-see TV. But Larry, we're going to wrap it up here. Just give me your final thoughts. Where are you going to be? How does Larry Krueger watch the NFC Championship game? You chilling at the house? You taking a red eye to Philly? What's going on?
Well, you know what? I was open to going, but I found out I wasn't going to go, and I'm like, you know what? I'm thrilled not to go, because I got a 13-year-old boy that's at home, and I got a 16-year-old boy that's at home, and when you have kids, I mean, they grow up quick. So it's like, I really like watching the games with my guys. So I'll be doing actually the pregame with Low Neal at 95.7 The Game. And then I'll be headed home for Niners Cowboys. And I think, I'll probably be grilling our Niners Eagles. And I'll probably be grilling. I'll probably be doing a little grilling this weekend. I'm not really sure what I want to barbecue. But I think I will do some grilling, because I think it's going to be dry, and we've had some rain. So grill up. Sometimes the kids like it when I'll grill up the like the drumettes, and then I'll put some buffalo wing sauce on there. And
oh yeah,
go
do some of those, and if you grill up some eagles too while you're at it. If you
oh yeah, throw a little eagle on there.
I know flying around over here and throughout the valley, you get some eagles, you get some hawks flying. Get one of those. Grill one of those up, Larry.
I gotta get a crystal ball like that, man.
Hopefully this week, I'm gonna whatever witchcraft or whatever they use to get these crystal. I can't tell you how I got this crystal ball. That's top secret information, Larry. But hey, what can I say? Hopefully, the juju pays off and the visions come to fruition. But hey, we're going to wrap it up here, Larry. Thanks for giving me your time. I know you've been a busy guy, had a blast. Niners get this win on Sunday. Thanks for stopping by. And the chat was live. Chat was absolutely killing it tonight. So appreciate you all for coming through. All right, Larry. Talk to you now. I'm sure I'll be on your channel talking Warriors, talking Niners. I've been fortunate. I got a shout out. I've been fortunate Larry's brought me on. I've been making some cameos on Larry's channel, having a blast. So thanks for that.
Dude, we're going to be going tomorrow night. After, I think it's Warriors Pistons tomorrow night. Who do the Warriors get?
Let's pull it up.
Who do they get tomorrow night? Here. I'm thinking we're going to see a James Wiseman trade at some point.
Man, I was wearing my James Wiseman jersey yesterday, Larry, because I don't know how long I can wear it for. But tomorrow it's Raptors. Raptors are coming to town. Warriors are at home. Raptors are coming to town. Larry, there might be some post-game action, probably some
Yeah.
more Niners talk, some Warriors talk.
Yep. Cyrus, I think, is going to join in, and Kylan Mills is going to stop by from Cron 4. She's been
Big
on our
time.
show a lot during
Yeah.
playoff time, and maybe if you're by, we can introduce you. But yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you, man. We're going to talk little Warriors, talk little Niners. But I like the Niners. I'm going Niners. What'd I say? What's my score? Did I give you a score? No.
You did. It was a low score. You said it was low scoring.
Low scoring.
Yeah, low scoring, and I'm with you there. I didn't give my prediction. I'm saying 24-21, last second field goal. Robbie Gould, game winner.
I think that sounds about right. 24-21, something like that.
Yeah.
But the key is, to me, get a lead. Take the crowd out. The one thing about the 49ers that is really kind of nice, and I want to see it, the Niners have some serious talent on their roster. And when you have that kind of talent, you have swagger. And I don't think,
Yeah, they do.
unlike the New York Giants, I think the Eagles are kind of one of these teams that when they see swagger, they're like, what? What? Somebody else has swagger besides us? And I just think if the Niners, roll in there with some swagger, maybe score first, you got to remember this. Shanahan's won this game. Sirianni hasn't. Purdy's never lost. How about that? Ever with the Niners. He's never lost. He's playing really good football. The Niners have great weapons and a fast, athletic, dominant defensive front. And to me, I think Azeez Al-Shaair, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, those guys, I think, blow up the run game for Philly. And I think they sack the quarterback. I think they cause a turnover or two. The
best linebacker core in the NFL, bar none.
Niner
Best
linebackers will win the day. The same, and I felt this exact same way a couple years ago when Devin White was a rookie and he was in Tampa and they had Levante David. I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Tampa's linebackers are going to win the day. The Niners linebackers are going to win this day on Sunday.
Love it. That's the perfect place to wrap it up. Larry, thanks for giving me your time, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.